Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 20 of Deep Blue Sea, the podcast. I am Jake Lewitt.
I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining us is the co-host of the award Wieners movie review podcast. It's David Cross.
What up, y'all?
Hey, so David, I'm gonna drop something really tough on you just right off the bat, and thank you for joining us, by the way, to talk about this chapter. Now, since your podcast, Award Wieners Movie Review Podcast, on the episodes you make a hot dog recipe for the Academy Award-winning film. What is the hot dog recipe for Deep Blue Sea?
Yeah, so I knew you were going to ask me something related to this, so I prepped for it. So thank you for teeing me up, Mark. So my first thought about this is, I think the obvious answer, you would make a shark sausage. But here's the thing. I think a shark sausage is kind of too obvious. I think it's boring. And honestly, it's probably difficult to make. So instead, I'm going to go from the shark's perspective. You want to make a long pig sausage, a.k.a. a human sausage. And you want to know what a human sausage tastes like? Veal. Because I read a 1920s article about it. Some guy went to Africa and ate some human.
Whoa.
Okay.
Oh, that's what Russell Franklin does. He's a cannibal in this film. He's a Wendigo. We did Ravenous on the Movie Stones and Flicks podcast. You know all about the Wendigos.
I do. I had that all research done from the Science of the Lambs podcast. So when I covered that, we talked about what humans would taste like, and we also covered it up with which celebrity would you prefer to eat.
Oh, I love it. Now
it was Gwyneth Paltrow, by the way.
Okay.
That's real. This is a very odd subject, but when you said that, I immediately went, I have nothing better.
You need someone who's healthy.
Yeah.
She's pretty healthy.
What happens if Robert Carlyle's character from Ravenous eats this shark?
That's a great question that I was thinking about as well. I can't believe you brought that up. We're kind of zoning, we're vibing right now.
Yeah, we are.
I kind of don't think he gets the power. I think if you're going to have one animal eat another animal, then they get the power. So it's like cannibalism itself gives you the power of the other person. So when the sharks are eating the other sharks at the beginning of this film, they're gaining power. Robert Carlyle has shark. He just has a delicious shark meal. He doesn't get any power from them.
Now,
the shark that's in this scene that we're talking about in the elevator shaft, that's already eaten Russell Franklin, Sam Jackson. So has that gained any powers from him?
I don't think so. They would only gain power from other sharks. So at the very beginning of this movie, they gained some power.
Like some tiger shark power they gained.
Yeah, tiger shark power.
Okay.
Stupid question. Sam Jackson's eaten by this shark. Robert Carlyle eats the shark. Does he get the Russell Franklin meat by proxy, like because he's inside of the shark? Or does it only work when you're eating a human, not eating an animal that has eaten a human?
So my whole thing is you have to eat an animal that is your same species to get the power of that thing. So it doesn't work crosswise. So like we've all here probably had a burger or a chicken sandwich. We didn't get any chicken or bird powers, right?
If only.
It only works cross animal.
There was that time in '98.
So Robert Carlyle would have to have eaten Samuel L. Jackson without the shark in between to gain the power of monologuing.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
And cardigans.
Sweaters, which we know where to buy now, thanks to Richard on episode 4 or 5. Now, what happens if Carlyle eats Carter Blake? Is he just going to slide everywhere?
He loses the power of standing up. Can you lose powers through doing this?
Whoa!
I'm glad you brought up Carter Blake because I can't describe him in any other way than he has a wetsuit on and he has reaction shots. Like, he has no personality at all.
He's a bionic stud muffin meant to look good in a sleeveless wetsuit.
And his initial approach to opening watertight doors is to just kind of hit them with his bare hands. He's opening the doors in sub-level 2 here to flood the sub-level 2. And he just gets there and he's just like, what do I do? I'm just going to try and open these doors, which are sealed. They're watertight with his bare hands.
I mean, he's got...
As his first thought.
He's just so strong, though. I think he's just used to, listen, when Preacher needs help getting a mayonnaise jar opened, he goes to Carter.
Yeah. That's where you go.
No, you know what? I'm very impressed with Scoggins and McAllister's grip strength in this scene. I wonder if they were rock climbers in previous lives, because when that ladder falls, Janice goes into the water, but the two of them are able to hold on. I mean, that's a big drop.
Yeah, and we saw Scoggins topless in an earlier scene, and he didn't look like he'd be able to do this kind of thing.
Yeah, he pulls himself right up.
Yeah, nothing against Michael Rappaport's physique in this film. It's far better than mine is now. but this looks like an unscoggins-able behavior.
The core strength, we watch him pull himself up. Like, Scoggins abs it up. Like, I bet you he just loves Preacher's cooking, but he also works out with Preacher on the off time.
This is why he hates the cake. Because it's bad for you.
Yeah. He's like, I'm trying to be better. You always feed me cake. Now, David, stupid question for you. I'm just doing this. Since you analyze Academy Award-winning films, and you also each week or each month or bi-monthly or every other month whenever your episodes come out.
They come out whenever we feel like it.
Yeah.
At least once a month.
So I was like, wait, twice weekly? But now, you know the nominees, you know the winners. Mm-hmm. In 1999, so like Cider House Rules was nominated, American Beauty. What could have gotten American Beauty won? What could have pushed Deep Blue Sea into nominated territory? Since you've looked at so many Oscar-nominated movies and so many Oscar winners, what cast in 99? Did it need Tom Wilkinson because he was on fire in 99? Did it need Judi Dench to be Russell Franklin? I mean, did Judi Dench need to be McAllister?
Yeah.
Did Judi Dench need to be the pilot and a cameo and still get nominated?
It's not to do with I mean, yes, all those would have helped. Having someone other than Samuel L. Jackson in addition to Samuel L. Jackson would have helped. But really it comes down to the story and having like a greater message attached to it. So like this is a story about, well, there's a couple different arguments about the story. I personally see it as sharks taking revenge on being tortured, but that's okay. Yeah. You might not agree with me.
We agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a jailbreak / revenge. Yeah. The sharks are the protagonists.
But there's no like greater discussion of socioeconomic things happening. So it's like in Jurassic Park, right? It's like there's the ethics of science and there's also it deals with the economy. Essentially, people doing things, corporations doing things just because they can. Here, there's no discussion of that really. It's very tangentially touched on when Saffron Burrows' character sort of mentions it. But it had to have a larger like discussion and they really only glance on it in this one. They're like, should you actually do this to save hundreds of thousands of people? Like, if they went into that discussion deeper, it would have probably been elevated significantly.
So just taking the Oscar-winning actors from that year and plugging them in wouldn't have helped.
It would have. I mean, it would have helped. It would probably got nominated for something like an award.
Best Picture.
You could have had Michael Caine could have been the Sam Jackson role. Hilary Swank could have been. You had Hilary Swank and Angelina Jolie both were very young Oscar winners of that year. But one as McAllister, one as Janice. I suppose. And then Kevin Spacey's Best Actor. And I don't really want to put him in this film, but we could make him Jim and have him eaten very early on, I suppose.
Yeah. And it has to be much more melodramatic. There needs to be some melancholy there. Maybe all these people came to this place because they've lost somebody. And they're struggling with addiction. One of them's struggling with addiction. The other one is struggling with racism. The other one is struggling with like a disability. And they all learn to love because of the sharks.
Yeah. I mean, that's already kind of there because they each have their own problems that are tangentially touched upon because Saffron Burrows' character got essentially broken people so they wouldn't rat her out. Like, it's there. They just don't really expand on it.
She did get broken people who wouldn't. They're just happy to have jobs.
Yeah.
It's like when you hear a director saying, I like to get young kids because I can work them 48 hours a day. Like, that doesn't even make sense, but I do it, and they need the work.
So before we get too deep into this, I wanted to talk about the very first... Yeah, too deep Blue Sea into this. The very, very first scene. So this takes what? We started at 104:22?
Yeah, thereabouts.
The scene starts with shark vision.
Yeah.
I love a movie with shark vision.
And this has loads of it.
Yeah.
That shark vision scene where it swims up and knocks a door helped me with a lot of my research too, because it gives you a good idea of where it's coming from. I love shark vision.
I also love that it says open. It's like sort of a quick half a second gag. It's like the door says open and it just opens the door.
I'm telling you. Also, did you see when Carter Blake got his arm burnt in this scene, and then he looks up at the guy wearing cargo shorts who dropped it on him and just scowls? That's not acting right there.
And Scoggins gets hit with debris as well. When the whole Aquatica starts to crumble, he gets hit in the face with a bit of falling rock.
So I went and I compiled my favorite moments of someone getting hit in the head with a rock in the head. Right? Because of this scene. Because he gets clunked. There's a good clunking.
I've never noticed it before. This is the first time I've seen it.
Me too. That's why I was excited. I'm like, what's my angle for this episode? And I just said rock throwing. But I do love Carter Blake. He looks at that special effects guy like, I hate you, Rick. Like, you're done. I gave you a bottle of Lagavulin, and you did this to me still. All right, so I love in The Incredibles when Mr. Incredible bonks a henchman from about 80 yards out. Another Sam Jackson movie. Perfect rock throw. Yeah. Life of Brian. Amazing rock throwing scene. Stop! Like, God!
I threw that!
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. No, not me. Shawshank Redemption has some good... Braveheart. Brendan Gleeson and Mel Gibson. The Big Rock, Little Rock, Arkansas. I like that. I mean, I love when that guy gets bopped with the rock. I like the light grenade in Mom and Dad Save the World. You're like, this is a rock. This is what you do. You take it, you put it back, and you throw it, and he knocks a guy unconscious. He's like, see? Lord of the Rings? Those hobbits are brutal with rocks. They're... Okay, in Fellowship of the Ring, I think Pippin hits an Uruk-hai with a rock, and an Uruk-hai does a complete backflip. How powerful is their rock throwing? I mean, that's clinical. Like,
that's before they've smoked Ent weed.
Oh, yeah.
So before they've grown.
Yeah, I mean, I want to do the physics of that rock, because that Uruk-hai, like, you'd think there'd be a hole right in the middle of his head. Forrest Gump.
It's a particularly weak Uruk-hai.
Oh, yeah. They hit Phil, the Uruk-hai. There was a clip the other day when it's like, if Uruk-hai had normal voices. I thought that was funny. Forrest Gump and Amelie, they don't throw them at anybody. I love the rock throwing in Tremors. No one gets hit, but they throw rocks out to see if the Tremors are out there. That makes me happy. Darjeeling Limited, when they're throwing rocks at the train, but no one gets struck in the head. But I think if I had to think of all the great rock throws, I'm going with Life of Brian. Oh!
Yeah.
And Shatner throwing the rock at that lizard in Star Trek, and it bonking off his chest.
What about it? Like, that's like a great rock fight in cinema.
Oh, yeah. That's a legit rock fight.
Yeah.
Man, rock fights. Kids are crazy.
I mean, Galaxy Quest doesn't really have any rock throwing, but it's got a rock fight against a rock monster.
Oh, yeah. I love that big rock.
I think Tim Allen gets hit by a rock that's part of the rock monster that gets punched by it at some point. Yeah. And I'm guessing there's films where Dwayne Johnson has hit people, so technically they've been hit by a rock.
Wow. Has The Rock ever thrown a rock?
I'm still thinking if he's been thrown. I can't think of a scene of him where he's been thrown.
There has to be a movie.
In Hobbs and Shaw, the final fight, they fight on kind of a craggly area on a cliffside. There's a lot of rock there. So maybe the rock landed on a rock after getting hit by Idris Elba.
Perhaps. I can see that happening.
But yeah, of course.
When they learn to work as a team.
Yeah. I love that the entire point of Hobbs and Shaw is two 40-plus-year-old men going, hey, we should probably work together.
If I get hit, you can hit him.
Yeah.
And then you get hit, and I can hit him.
That's the end of the movie. They're like...
That's the end of the movie.
Can you believe... That'd be funny later on at the pub. They're like, can you believe it? Like, if you work together, you can win. They're like, oh, man.
We can do anything. We can beat up Idris Elba.
I enjoy that movie, but that always gets me at the end when it's just teamwork is good.
It's a long way to go for a very easy lesson. But yeah, I like the film. It's fun.
Okay, and I want to ask y'all another question. I read a Cracked article. I used to write for Cracked. I enjoyed writing for them, but I thoroughly disagree with this thing they wrote where they said that they're like stupid moves in horror movies that deaths that could have been avoided. And in this article, they're saying that Janice should have just swum through the ladder and climbed up and escaped. But, okay, in horror movies, people do dumb things. Like, so David, you live in a mansion. Half of it's blocked off and you know it's haunted. You start hearing noises in that end of the mansion. And instead of picking up your shotgun that's next to you, you pick up a spoon. And you walk in there just going, hello? Hello? Is anybody there? Is anybody there?
Does anyone need a spoon?
Yeah. What's in this closet? Like, I'm going to go in the basement. That's dumb. Because you are walking towards it. But in this deep blue sea, they're exhausted. They fall. She's underwater for 15 seconds. She's out of breath. She gets back up, and there's a 20-second gap before she's eaten. And Carter's like, hey, let me help you. Like, she's having a hard time swimming. The water's swirling. Probably for her to get to that ladder takes 10 seconds. And then to start climbing, I doubt she's up in that time. And the shark, it didn't kill Carter on purpose, I believe. But it would have just jumped out and snacked on her. Like, I just hate that I would have done this if a massive